The film opens with a girl named Karis, whose car breaks down after the radiator fails, forcing her to walk home alone. She's returning from a meeting of the Indigenous Community Council. As she walks down the road, she keeps glancing over her shoulder, feeling an eerie sense of fear. Growing more uneasy, she calls her mother and asks her to come pick her up because she doesn't feel safe walking alone. Meanwhile, a mysterious car begins following Karis. Even when she signals for help, the car refuses to stop and instead matches her pace, staying right behind her. At first, it trails her slowly, but when it realizes she's trying to escape, it suddenly speeds up toward her, making the situation far more dangerous. The scene then shifts to the next day at Officer Betty's house, where the police officer is alone with her nephew, Ben. Betty receives a call from her colleague Andy, who urgently informs her about a serious incident. He tells her that Karis's mother, Marilyn, has arrived at the morgue to identify her daughter's body, and she's in terrible condition. The story then cuts to an indigenous ranger named Stacy, who is out alone in the forest, focused on hunting. While moving through the woods, she suddenly discovers a hidden bear trap buried in the ground. Concerned that it could harm someone or an animal, she picks it up. We then return to Betty, who has arrived for her shift. She brings the victim's mother inside to formally identify the body. When the body bag is opened, Mary struggles to accept that the lifeless body in front of her is her own daughter, Karis. Overwhelmed with grief, she breaks down emotionally. She says her daughter went through so much in life, but she can't understand why her end had to be so painful. Next, the scene moves to an engaged couple visiting a piece of land where their future camp is planned to be built. A project approved by the local Indigenous Council and very important to them. The man's name is Ray, and his fiancée is Beth. Both seem excited about their future. It's revealed that Ray is only there to accompany Beth while she conducts a survey of the land for future use. While working, Beth notices a crow flying overhead and suddenly smells a foul, rotting odor that feels unnatural. She asks Ray about it, but he doesn't smell anything, which makes her even more uneasy. Moments later, Beth detects a strange signal on her device but can't figure out what it is. Suddenly, she is attacked by something invisible, something she cannot see or defend herself against. Shortly after, Betty and Andy arrive at the scene and assess the situation. Andy explains that Beth worked for an organization that wanted to build a camp center on Indigenous land, and now the situation has become serious. When Betty questions Ray, he says he didn't see anyone attack Beth, which makes her suspicious. According to Ray, just before Beth died, she noticed a strange smell, like blood, which felt very unusual to her. The next day, the scene shifts to Stacy, who is having lunch at a cafe. A creepy man named Donnie keeps staring at her, making her uncomfortable. Just then, a woman named Frances approaches her and says she's been very busy at the morgue lately because the ice road is getting thicker, and more incidents are being reported. A little later, when Stacy walks toward her car, she sees that Donnie has blocked her way on purpose and isn't letting her pass. He tries to charm her by offering a t-shirt and asking for her phone number. Pretending to take a pen, Stacy suddenly strikes him in the face, causing his nose to bleed, and he backs off. The scene then cuts to a couple, Jessica and Gary, who are spending time together. While talking about their hunting plans, Gary suddenly notices a strange smell, and they hear something moving on top of their car, creating a terrifying atmosphere. Thinking it's a wolf, Gary grabs his rifle and steps outside, but he has no idea what danger is waiting for him. Moments later, Jessica sees her boyfriend with his guts ripped out. Panicked, she quickly locks the car door. Soon after, Betty and Andy arrive at the scene, and Betty questions Jessica to uncover the truth. Jessica says she didn't see anything, but the incident feels similar to the previous one, making the case even more mysterious. Meanwhile, Stacy is out in the forest hunting a rabbit when Betty arrives and offers her a position as her deputy, asking for her help in investigating these mysterious killings and uncovering the truth. At first, Stacy refuses, but since she's the only skilled tracker available, she eventually agrees and becomes part of this dangerous investigation. Later, they go to the morgue and examine the body, which is in a horrifying condition. After looking at the wounds, Stacy says it seems like an attack by a predatory animal. As they're leaving, Betty notices the necklace around Francis's neck and feels uneasy. She also catches Francis doing something strange in the morgue, which deepens her suspicion even further. After that, Stacy goes to meet her uncle and tells him about the creature that's been terrorizing the town, attacking people one after another. Hearing this, Carson immediately grabs his weapons and gear and sets out to help his niece, determined to solve the mystery and put an end to the threat. Meanwhile, Betty is completely immersed in investigating the deep spirituality of the region's indigenous people. She carefully pieces together every clue, trying to uncover the truth behind this mysterious and dangerous case and bring any hidden secrets to light. Soon, she discovers an old and suspicious photo of Francis, clearly revealing his deep and long-standing connection to spiritual activities, showing they've been a key part of everything that's been happening. At the same time, Stacy and her uncle move cautiously through the forest's dark and deserted trails. With fear and tension in the air, they set animal meat as bait in different spots, trying to lure the beast out so they can face the real danger and uncover the truth. But suddenly, they realize this isn't the work of any normal wild animal. It's something far more terrifying. A mysterious and powerful demon targeting people and spreading fear. When Stacy sees her uncle badly injured and in critical condition, she doesn't waste a second and rushes him to the hospital. Doctors immediately begin emergency treatment, doing everything they can to save his life. Shortly after, Betty arrives and tries to understand the situation. Stacy explains in detail that this isn't a wild animal, but a terrifying, vengeful demonic entity that resembles the hit-and-run victim, Karis. Betty, who once didn't believe in anything supernatural, slowly begins to accept that this entire tragedy may be connected to a spirit seeking justice. Not long after, Andy shows up. After learning about everything, he claims that people hiding deep in the interior are behind this, individuals who have been heavily influenced by an evil spirit, turning them hysterical and driving them to commit uncontrollable, dangerous, and terrifying acts. Stacy and Betty go along with what he says for now, because they still can't fully accept this terrifying truth. Then Carson suddenly asks if Karis's organs, like her heart, are still inside her dead body, as if he already has some idea about the truth behind this mystery and is trying to piece together a much bigger secret. The scene then shifts to Francis, who goes to the site of Karis's death and unexpectedly runs into Mary. The two talk in detail about Karis's good deeds, her struggles, her bravery, and the noble work she did. But as their conversation comes to an end, Francis suddenly hears the sound of strong, howling winds, making the atmosphere even more terrifying. The next day, while searching for clues related to all the murder cases in her town, Betty discovers a major connection. All the victims' clothing is linked to the same organization, WEC Mining Organization. Meanwhile, their partners are completely safe and unharmed, which deepens the suspicion and makes the case even more complicated. She also finds several articles revealing that the local community council had granted licenses to this organization without proper consent. It turns out that Karis was an activist who strongly opposed this project and was raising awareness about its dangers. Further revelations show that Carson supported the mining project because the company had promised community development and a better future. On the other hand, Mary and Karis were against it, fighting to protect the ecosystem, forests, and rivers, believing the project to be destructive and dangerous. That night, Betty goes to the morgue and asks about Karis's body, but Francis tells her that the body has been transferred to a new mortuary. When Betty presses further, Francis finally reveals the name Marilyn, the one who took the body and is deeply connected to this entire mystery. The next day, Betty meets Stacy and tells her that all the victims were workers of the same mining organization and that her uncle is involved as well. That's why the spirit is targeting her, and it all feels like a story of revenge, punishment, and justice finally coming to light. After that, they meet Andy, who has arrested Donnie because he accidentally shot a deaf elderly woman, thinking she was the killer spreading fear and terror in the area. At the calf, Andy talks to Francis, and she finally confesses that Donnie had hit Karis and drugged her, leaving her semi-conscious so she wouldn't understand what was happening, and so the truth could stay hidden for a long time. Later, Betty and Stacy, while trying to help Karis, meet Mary. She reveals that the body was taken by ancestral spirits. She openly expresses her deep anger, pain, rage, and hatred toward the organization as they were trying to take away their land, identity, and existence. Seeing Mary's condition and her intense fury, they decide to leave her alone. As they are leaving, Betty gets a call from her nephew saying that the mining organization has started offering job opportunities. This clearly hints that even bigger twists, dangers, conflicts, and truths are about to unfold in the story. Despite Betty's warnings, Ben insists on going there and applying for the job. As Stacy and Betty are about to leave, Stacy suddenly remembers something and goes back to Mary. She begins telling her about a colleague whose story closely connects to Mary's own. Stacy tries to convince her that what she's doing is wrong. Even if her intention to protect her land is good, killing in any way is not justified. After that, Stacy gives Mary an amulet that her friend had given her. On the other hand, as Ben is on his way to apply for the job, Betty once again warns him to stay away from anything related to WEC. Suddenly, Ben sees an apparition in front of him. Terrified, he runs as fast as he can. Luckily, he manages to get inside a house and escapes the demon Karis, who doesn't approve of his intention to work for the organization. A little while later, Betty reaches the house and immediately rushes to the basement to save Ben. Somehow, she manages to enter the room and narrowly avoids Karis's attack. Right after that, Stacy also arrives at her daughter's house, determined to end everything once and for all, with her rifle in hand. In the middle of the chaos, she desperately tries to fire. And just when the demon Karis starts breaking down the door, Stacy distracts her by showing the WC logo t-shirt that Donnie had given her. Using that moment, Stacy cleverly lures Karis outside the house. Just as planned, Karis gets caught in a bear trap that had already been set. Then, Stacy opened fire on her like machine guns. But things don't go as expected, because Karis is no longer human. In a panic, Stacy grabs an axe and tries to destroy the spirit. But suddenly, Karis breaks free from the trap and injures her. In the end, both Stacy and her are left confused, not knowing what to do next. Meanwhile, Mary realizes her mistake and decides to end everything herself. She performs a ritual, trying to destroy Karis's demonic power by burning her heart. Within seconds, the demon Karis begins to weaken. Seizing the opportunity, Stacy wastes no time and decapitates Karis, finally putting an end to her. After this, the scene shifts back to Mary, where Francis comes to meet her. Francis asks if it's all over, and Mary replies that almost everything is finished. She also explains that they can only summon her spirit one last time by taking her name. And after that, it will never be possible again. Then the scene cuts back to Stacy and her, where Andy arrives and tells them that the person responsible for Karis's death has been arrested. But unknowingly, he takes Karis's name while speaking, and in the final moment, Karis's spirit rises one last time and attacks Donnie, who honestly had it coming from the very beginning. And with that, the movie comes to an end. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.